Hey, call Lord Yahweh, Yahweh being the Father, right? And call Lord Yahweh Shai, Yahweh Shai being the Son, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ, right? So we give all honor and glory to the Most High and to the Most High Son, right? So real quick, my name is Yawanathan, right? SOZ Orlando, coming to you real quick with some milk on endurance, making sure that we endure in this truth and make sure we're enduring in this thing, right? Because you got to stay circumspect of the truth. And you also got to make sure that you're walking in endurance, right? That's one of the keys and part of the milk, making sure that you endure, right? So without further ado, I'm gonna jump right in. I'm gonna pull Colossians, right, chapter 3 and verse number 17. Whatsoever you do in word or deed, do all in the name of Hamashiach Yahweh Shai, giving thanks to Yahweh by him, right? Everything we do is by Hashem Yahweh Shai, right? No matter what it is. For all you brothers and all you sisters out there, right? Hey, everything you do is for the Most High. It's for the Lord, right? So you got to make sure that you're being circumspect and being watchful, right? In everything that you do and making sure that you're representing the Most High in the best way that you possibly can, right? Let me pull this too, right? First Corinthians, real quick, right? Chapter 10, and on verse number 31, right? First Corinthians chapter 10 and verse 31, right? Whether therefore ye eat or drink or whatsoever ye do, do all to the glory of Yahweh, right? So everything you do, man, you got to do it for the glory of the Most High, right? You got to act as if, hey, the Most High is literally standing right behind you. And there are angels recording everything that you do, right? But you got to really be circumspect and keep that in your mind, right? So without further ado, we get to endurance. Make sure you're being circumspect of the Most High. You're ambassadors for him. You represent him no matter where you go and always let your light shine, right? So let's get into the book of Baruch, right? Book of Baruch, chapter 4 and verse number 1. This is the book of the commandments of Yahweh and the law that endureth forever, right? So even to establish anything, you got to get into the milk, right? The milk, Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy, right? Getting into the milk is going to help you to keep the commandments by knowing it, right? Getting into reading, praying, fasting, right? Being circumspect of those things. But the milk, right, which is the law, which endureth, right? So ETH, right? So a lot of brothers, when they and sisters, when you read the King James version of the Bible, right, it's good to really start breaking down the words that you read, right? So whenever you see that ETH at the end of any word in the Bible, that F, right? That word, that suffix, it means continually. Okay, continually, right? So committeth, right? Endureth, right? Saveth, commandeth, right? It's continually commanded, right? Continually enduring, right? That's literally what it means. So it says, this is the book of the commandments of the Most High and the law that endureth, continuously endures forever, right? All they that keep it shall come to life, but such as leave it shall die, right? So if you keep the commandments and you constantly endure in the milk, in the laws, in the commandment, in faith in Yahweh Shai, right? Then you're going to come to life, right? Your life will flourish. You'll be able to, your heart will be perfect with the Most High because you'll be keeping the commandments. Let me get that real quick, right? This is First Kings, right? First Kings chapter 8, right? First Kings chapter 8 and verse number 61, right? It says, let your heart therefore be perfect. So in the Most High, right, through the power of Yahushua, was telling him, hey, be perfect as your Father in heaven is perfect, roughly paraphrasing, right? This is what he's talking about, because your heart is your mind. Let your heart therefore be perfect with the Most High our power to walk in his statutes and to keep his commandments as at this day, right now, 2023, right? Keeping the commandments of the Most High is going to help you to endure, right? Keeping the feast days, loving your brothers, loving your sisters, not backbiting, not talking bad about them, not being a talebearer, right? Not suffering sin upon your brothers and your sisters, correcting them when they're wrong, right? Correcting your husband if you have to, in righteousness, right? And in humbleness, right? Husbands, right? Correcting your wife, your children, right? People that you see on the streets, right? It's going to help them to endure because now they're aware of what it is. And if they, if it be of the Most High, they'll start to keep those commandments, right? But keeping the commandments is going to help you to endure, right? Because the commandments, the book of the commandments will endure forever. And they that keep it will come to life, right? Roughly paraphrasing. So let's get the book of James, right? Get the book of James, chapter 1 and verse number 12, right? James chapter 1 and verse 12 says, blessed is the man that endureth temptation. Hey, the Most High said you got to constantly, continually endure temptation. Why is that? Right? Why do you got to endure? Because trials and tribulations is going to come. This walk in the truth is not easy. And it's not going to, just because, hey, you came into the truth yesterday or you've been in the truth for a year, hey, the Most High is going to come back tomorrow. No, that's not how it works. The Most High is not operating on your time, right? The Most High is operating on his own time. How do we know that? And then I'm gonna pull you and show you why, right? You got to endure temptation. So let me pull these two precepts, right? So this is the book of Ecclesiastes, right? Chapter 3 and verse number 1. It says, to everything there is a season, right? And a time to every purpose under the heaven, right? So if you're above heaven, right, where Yahweh Shem Yahweh where they sit, the Most High, right, and his throne is in the third heaven, right? So there's no time up there. It's eternal, right? You can't even fathom that. There is no beginning, there's no end. But when you come down here on earth under heaven, right, the three heavens specifically, right, now there's a time. There's time, right? You got the evening, you got the morning, you got day, you've got night. You got 12 hours in a day, you got 12 hours at night. And that's a season, right, for every person's life that they're here and a purpose that needs to get fulfilled within time that the Most High commanded, right? But that's the time, right? So now when you're here, you got to endure during that time, right? And then let me pull Sirach real quick, right? Sirach chapter 2, and I'm gonna start from the top, right? Because we were talking in James chapter 1 and verse 12, blessed is the man that endureth temptation, right? For when he is tried, he shall receive the crown of life, which the Most High hath promised to them that love him, right? So check this out. The Most High said, if you endure temptation, you endure trials, you're enduring tribulation, right? You get laid off on your job, right? You get into a car accident, right? Now you don't have a car. It's hard to get to camp, right? Yeah, your husband just got laid off, right? Your kids maybe going up, acting up in school, right? These different trials, tribulations, things that you got to endure, right? You got to go into the book. You got to get into these scriptures, right? You got to get some counseling, but you got to turn to the Most High, right? To help give you that strength so that you can endure. And how can you better to do that, right? Than get into the scriptures and going through the accounts, seeing how our forefathers, right, dealt with certain situations and how you can pull from that situation and apply it to your life, right? But also always remember too, you're working towards a goal, right? You were trying to endure to get that immortality, right? The crown of life, right? The crown of righteousness, the different crowns that Yahweh Shai is coming with the reward, right? Let me get this real quick. A Revelation. Salaki. See if I can get this real quick. Salak, I'll come back to Salak if you're not being able to find it. But I'm gonna run over to Sirach instead, right? And this is why we gotta endure, right? Sirach chapter 2, and I'm gonna start at verse 1. It says, my son, if thou come to serve the Most High, prepare thy soul for temptation. So the Most High is telling you right off the bat, right? If you get woken up, the Most High enlightens your eyes to this truth, You understand that you're an Israelite, right? You're not just a nigga, you're not an African American, right? You're not a black man, you're not a black woman, right? But you have a heritage, a tribe that you come from. And if you come from the seed of Jacob and you're an Israelite, hey, the Most High said, prepare your soul for temptation. You're gonna have to go through some stuff. And it may not just be because you were wicked, right? Because the Most High can bring his judgment, right? For being wicked in the world, different things we did, smoke weed, smoke blacks, right? You was a whoremonger, an adulterer, you lied all the time, you was someone who stole, right? The Most High can bring those judgments. But hey, sometimes you may be walking, you know what I'm saying, with the Most High, and he just may, hey, be like, hey, send an angel to just test you, right? And you got to remember this thing, right? And a good account, we'll go to that in a minute, is Job, right? Check this out. He says, so you got to prepare for the temptation. How do you prepare for it, right? You read, you fast, you pray, right? So what I do is I pray in the morning, right? Then I read a couple chapters. Then I pray at 9, read some more chapters. 12, read some more chapters. 3, read some more chapters, right? Before I go to bed, read some more chapters, right? Jump on a couple of calls with the brothers, go through different things, but staying constant and diligent, right, with a schedule can help you, right, to be always meditating on the Lord. Right? And let me get this real quick in Psalms, right? Let me get this real quick. It's the book of Psalms, chapter 1 and verse 1, right? Blessed is the man that walketh not in the counsel of the ungodly, nor standeth in the way of sinners, nor sitteth in the seat of the scornful, right? So, hey, that's a blessed person, right? Someone who's not going to surround themselves, right, with individuals who aren't trying to keep the law, statutes, commandments of the Most High God, right? Because then that spirit that they're in could jump off on you, right? It may not be right away, right? You may hang around some people who smoke weed, but then, hey, guess what? After a while, being around it for too long, you might just be like, hey, you know what? Let me try that, right? Hey, don't go backwards, man. Don't go back into the world, right? You got to endure. So sometimes you might have to cut those people off. You may lose some friends. You may lose some, you know, some family members. Hey, but all praise to the Most High. You could gain some, right? And it's truth, right? Zephaniah 2 and 1, the Most High said, hey, gather yourselves together, right? Oh, nation not desire, right? So, hey, you got to get together with like-minded individuals, Israelites, chiefly, in this truth, right? To help you get built up, to help you to continue to endure in this truth, right? So check this out. Verse 2 says, but his delight, right? You got to be able to be delighted in this thing, right? Joyful when the feast days come, right? Hey, the Most High gave us a whole rest day on the Sabbath, right? You get to work 6 days, 5 days, but on the Shabbat, hey, you get to rest, kick back, man, enjoy the Lord, sit, enjoy your family, right? Enjoy the brotherhood, enjoy the sisterhood, right? Enjoy Israel, enjoy your nation, right? It's a time to rejoice in the Most High. The feast days, hey, I love the feast days, right? Get together with your brothers in mirth, blow your trumpets, shofars, eat some good food, listen to some great music, and be around righteous people that are keeping the law, statutes, commandments of the Most High, right? Breaking away from, you know, the world, right? And all the heathenistic holy holidays, right? Salakia holidays that they try to push upon our people, right? So he says, but his delight is in the law, right? Putting on your fringes, right? You should be happy, man. Can't wait to throw this on. It's part of your heritage, right? To love your brothers, right? To not steal, right? To keep the commandments, right? To go through these things and teach your kids, to teach your wife, right? All these different things, they should be a delight to you because you know that you're helping pass on the words and the law, statutes, commandments, and faith in Yahushua to, you know what I'm saying, your children, your family, your wife, and that's going to help you to endure, and it'll help them endure, right? As they get older, they'll have certain situations that they go through. They can pull up the accounts of the Most High and our forefathers and be able to endure in that same situation, right? It says, but his delight is in the law of the Most High, and in his law doth he meditate, right? Day and night. You got to meditate on these scriptures. You got to take some time, 2 minutes, 5 minutes, right? 6 minutes, 7 minutes, doesn't matter. But hey, take some time to meditate on it. Really dissect that scripture. Get into it. How can I apply it to my life? That's going to help me continuously endure in this truth, right? Right? So let's get back to Sirach, right? Chapter 2 and verse 2 says, set thy heart aright, right? Your mind aright, and constantly, here's that word, endure. You got to constantly endure in this truth, right? Because different trials, tribulations going to come, and we're going to get into some of those, right? Some of our forefathers and some accounts, right, in a minute. And make not haste in time of trouble. So when calamity comes, trouble is coming, you're going through some different things. Hey, you got into a car crash, don't, just wild out, spaz out, right? If you lose your job, hey, don't wild out, don't spaz out, right? Pray to the Most High, get some counseling, put your resume together, and apply to some jobs, right? Try to be proactive or, in this thing instead of being just reactive, right? Get into a prayer life. Make sure you're praying more. Make sure you're fasting at least 2-3 times a week, right? Trying to purge out those different spirits that may be in you, right? That are keeping you from being able to grow in the Most High, right? And it says, verse 3, cleave unto him, Yahushua, right? And depart not away, that thou mayest be increased at thy last end, right? You want to be able to be increased because, hey, we all know Jacob's trouble is coming, right? Let me call this real quick. Select you, right? It's the book of Isaiah, chapter 33, right? And verse number 6. And wisdom and knowledge, right, shall be the stability of thy times. Wisdom and knowledge is going to be the stability, right? Wisdom and knowledge in the laws, statutes, and commandments of the Most High, and faith in Yahushua is what is literally going to be able to keep you sustained and to endure through Jacob's trouble, right? And strength of salvation. That is going to be your strength, right? That's going to help you to endure in this truth, right? The fear of the Most High is his treasure. You got to let the fear of the Most High be your treasure, something that you treasure, right? You need to hold it close. You don't let anybody just see what your treasure is, right? If you got a piggy bank somewhere that's got $500,000 in it, you ain't gonna tell everybody where that's at, right? You're not. You may tell your wife, maybe if you got a best friend in the truth or out the truth, right? Chiefly in the truth, right? You don't want to be dealing with people in the world. But I'm saying if you just came into this thing, hey, you might want to check some stuff. But the point is, you're not gonna tell everybody where that $500,000 is located, right? You're gonna hold it close to your heart, right? That's the same thing with the Most High. You got to hold his words close. You got to hold these laws close. You got to keep them close and constantly endure in his truth, right? Verse 4, whatsoever, it's one of my favorite verses, man. Sirach 2 and 4. I hold on to it personally all the time, right? Whatsoever is brought upon thee, take cheerfully. Why? Because the Most High just told you in verse 1 that you're going to have to go through some different things and he's going to try you, right? So he says, whatsoever happens, take it cheerfully, right? Say, call Lord Yahweh, Bashim Yahushua, right? All praise to the Most High, whether it is that it's good or it's bad, the Most High is chastening you, but hey, it's going to bring about growth. It's going to bring about endurance, right? You're going to be able to be in a situation where you can relate to it later, or you can help pull another brother through who may be going through the same thing, or another sister is going through the similar situation that the Most High just brought you out of. Hey, and you can get that brother or sister some counseling, right? To help them get through it. Hey, I got a scripture for you. Hey, this is how the Most High did it for me. You know what I'm saying? Right? Real quick, let me get this in Job, right? It's the book of Job, chapter 2, and I'm going to start at verse 9, right? It says, then said his wife unto him, Job's wife, right? This is right after he had everything that's got taken from him, kids, cattle, houses. Like I said, his kids died, right? Every time he turned, something horrible was happening to him. Read this account, man. It's a good account. Dost thou still retain that integrity? His wife asked him, hey, you still going to keep your integrity, man? Right? Curse God and die. Hey, that woman was wicked. Or she had a moment, right? She said, curse the Most High and die. Look at what Job says. But he said unto her, thou speakest as one of the foolish women. Speaking, right? She was foolishly saying, curse the Most High and die. He said, hey, that's foolish. I'm talking like a foolish woman right now. He said, what? Shall we receive good at the hand of the Most High, and shall we not receive evil? In all this did not Job sin with his lips. Hey, Job said, I might catch hell from the Most High. What? I'm supposed to now complain, be upset, right? Stomp my feet, act like a little kid? No, you keep enduring. Maybe now it's time to go a little bit harder for the Most High, right? Check this out. Let me get this also in the book of Baruch, right? This book of Baruch, chapter 4 and verse 28, right? Baruch 4 and 28. For as it was your mind to go astray from the Most High, right? Because we go off on our thoughts. You may not physically go off all the time, but we do, right? And I do as well, even in my thoughts, right? I go off. I got to get down on my knees. I got to repent, ask the Most High to forgive me, right? Confess my sins to another brother, right? In his truth, so that the brother can help cut me up, rebuke me, and build me up and give me some precepts, right? To help me to remember to keep enduring in this thing, right? But check this out. Being returned, when you come back, seek him 10 times more. Go harder for the Most High, right? So when you're going through these different trials and tribulations, hey, go hard for the Most High and keep enduring, right? Pray a little bit harder, right? Read a little bit more. You know, you was reading 2 chapters, now read 3. You were praying 2 times a day, hey, now you're praying 4, right? You were fasting once a week, hey, now you're fasting twice a week, right? Every other day. Get a couple brothers or sisters, you know what I'm saying, to kind of join in that thing with you, right? But that's the point. The point is that you got to continue to endure no matter what the Most High brings upon you, just like Job did. And if you read all the way to the end of Job, it's 42 chapters, maybe 44 chapters in that thing, right? And there's a lot of complex stuff that goes on in there. But the point is at the end, hey, the Most High gave Job 7-fold what he took from him, right? And remember, you're working towards something, and it's enduring, right? A kingdom, right? You want immortality. You want to be there in the kingdom. You want to be there with Yahweh Shai, right? You want that mansion that's promised. You want those crowns. You want those things. Hey, you got to keep enduring because the Most High ain't about to just come back just because you've been the truth now, right? Let's go back to Sirach, right? Sirach chapter 2, and I'm gonna read verse 4 again, right? It says, whatsoever is brought upon thee, take cheerfully and be patient when thou art changed to a lower state. You got to be patient. Patience goes hand in hand with endurance because you got to wait on the Most High, right? You got to wait. Let me get this real quick to Lamentations, right? Real quick, Lamentations, right? Chapter 3 and verse number 26. And it reads, it is good that a man should both hope and quietly wait for the salvation of the Most High. Hey, he said, quietly wait. Don't be complaining. Don't be murmuring. Don't be backbiting. Don't be talking about your brothers, right? Don't be saying, oh, the Most High should have did it yesterday. No, he shouldn't have. The Most High do it when he wants. You're not in control. You don't even got free will, okay? So with that being said, hey, just sit back. Whatever's happening, take it cheerfully. Call on Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, give him glory right in the midst of it, and keep enduring in this thing. Because that's what you got to do. You got to endure. You got to push, right? Let me get verse 5, right? Sirach chapter 2 and verse 5 said, for gold is tried in the fire, and acceptable men in the furnace of adversity. Hey, right? You know how we are as Israelites, right? So-called black people, right? We like gold, right? We like gold earrings. Brothers got the gold glasses, right? You got brothers walk around with the chains, rings, whatever the case may be, right? We like gold. Well, hey, that gold had to go through a purifying process. That gold had to literally get tried in the fire, right? And the Most High likens us unto gold, Israelites. So he's going to try us, right, through the furnace of adversity. You're going to go through some adverse things, right? As it says in verse 5, gold is tried in the fire, right? And here's the comparison, acceptable men, right, in the furnace of adversity. So you're going to have to go through some things. You got to endure through that adversity, right? You got to endure through that chastisement, right? So check this out. Let me get the book of Hebrews, right? It's the book of Hebrews, right? Chapter 12, and I'm going to get verse number 6. It says, for whom the Lord loveth, he chasteneth, and scourgeth every son whom he receiveth. So the Most High is going to deal with you like his child, right? He's dealing with the Israelites like children, right? Matter of fact, let me see if I can get this to it. I think it's Exodus. Right, yep, Exodus chapter 4 and verse 22, right? Just to prove that where Israel, the Most High sons, right? And this is Exodus 4 and 22. And thou shalt say unto Pharaoh, thus saith the Most High, Israel is my son, even my firstborn, right? So we are the Most High's children, literally, right? So I'm a father, right? My wife and I, we got 2 kids, right? My son and my daughter. I tell him all the time. In the beginning, I tell him, on a daily basis. Now he just automatically knows, right? But I tell him, hey, look, Zai, you got to go clean your room, take out the garbage, and do the dishes. Those are my commandments to him. If he don't do those things, hey, he might catch a whooping. Some stuff might get taken away, right? But those are my commandments, and he broke them. So it's the same thing. I got to correct him. I love him, right? I'm trying to show him, hey, when you get older, say you get your own place one day, right? That you don't allow your house to get messy and get disgusting, right? You don't want roaches in there. You don't want bugs, right? That's the reason. That's the reason why I give him the commandments. As a kid, hey, you may think, why is dad always telling me that, right? But it's because I love him. Same thing with my daughter. Go clean your room, right? Clean up after yourself. Don't just leave stuff all over the place. There's a reason for it all. Same thing with the Most High. When he's dealing with Israel, he said, hey, look, these are my commandments. Do these things. This is what's pleasing to me. And there's reasons for it because you're going to come to life, right? And not be on that path of death, right? It's going to help you endure pursuant to Root 4 and 1 because the book of the law and the commandments is going to endure forever. So you keep those, you're going to come to life, right? And that's what you want, right? So the Most High is dealing with us like sons, right? But back to Hebrews chapter 12, verse 7. If you endure, right, chastity, you're going to go through it because we already said, right, it's a rack 2 and 1. The Most High is going to, hey, prepare thy soul for temptation, right? Chastisement. He says, if you endure it, the Most High dealeth with you as with sons, for what son is he whom the Father chasteneth not? Hey, if you don't love your kid, you're going to let him do whatever the hell he wants, right? But the Most High, if you love your kid, right, you're going to correct him. Because if my son is playing with his friends and they going off, right, I'm going to send his friends home and I'm going to chasten my son. I'm going to correct my son because I love him. Hey, you can't just be out here doing whatever the hell you want. Can't be climbing on poles, right? Can't be throwing rocks at somebody's house, right? These things you can't do because you might hurt somebody, might catch a lawsuit, might get in trouble. Someone, who knows, right? But it's all for a reason. Same thing with the Most High. He's trying to make sure that you're not going to be on the path to death. So you got to endure, right? Through the trials, the tribulations, right? No matter what it is that you go through. Because check this out. Verse 8 is the flip side, right? There's always 2 sides of the coin. He says, but if you be without chastisement, and this is a scary thought, right? Like the other nations, because the Most High not dealing with Esau. He's not dealing with Moab. He's not dealing with Ammon, right? He's not dealing with the Hamites. He's not dealing with them, right? After he deals with us, Israel, then he gonna come deal with them, right? But check this out. Because he ain't dealing with them, this is how he says, but if you be without chastisement, because they're not getting corrected, they don't got the laws, statutes, commandments, right? Wherefore all are partakers, then are ye bastards and not sons. They not sons of the Most High. They're not daughters of the Most High. Israel, right, is my son, pursuant to Exodus 4 and 22, right? So that's how you got to literally, that the Most High is dealing with you like a father, right? So he's gonna chasten you, but you got to endure the chastening, okay? You got to actually learn to love it, right? Learn to love being corrected, right? Because it's gonna help improve your spirit, help get rid of those things that are not pleasing to the Most High, right? And help you to develop into someone, to bring forth that good fruit, right? So let me get this right real quick. We'll go to Exodus, right? Chapter 20 and verse 20, right? Because check this out. The Most High not telling us nothing that he didn't already tell our forefathers, right? It's the book of Exodus, chapter 20, right? And verse 20. Hey, if you read Exodus 20, man, you already know the 10 Commandments is in that, right? If you're out on the highways and the byways, we bring it out, Exodus 20 and 2, to teach our people what Egypt is, right? How it's bondage and slavery, right? But check this out. Finish reading the book of Exodus. There's a lot of good stuff in it, right? So Exodus 20 and 20, check what the Most High says. Fear not, or Salaki. And Moses said unto the people, fear not, For the Most High is come to prove you, and that his fear may be before your faces, that ye sin not. Right? So the Most High is coming to prove you, sister, you, brother, right? Myself, every Israelite included, to prove us to see, hey, you're going to keep my commandments. You're going to keep my fear in front of you, right? Because if you fear the Most High, you're going to be afraid to go off, right? And if you do, right, because you got overtaken in a fault, right? You get down on your knees, you repent, you ask the Most High for forgiveness, and you keep enduring, right? You get back up and you keep going. But hey, the Most High was dealing with our forefathers. He came to prove them. So of course he's going to come prove you, right? Because we're no better than our forefathers. We're not better than our nation. No. So if he proved Moses, he proved our forefathers in the wilderness, right? He's going to prove you too. However long the span of your life is, right? He's going to be proving you during that time. So you got to constantly endure in this thing, right? Let me go to Second Timothy, right? Let me get Second Timothy real quick, right? Chapter 3, right? Second Timothy, right? Chapter 3, and I want verse number 11. All right, this is a letter, right, that Paul wrote to Timothy. So listen to what he said, right? Second Timothy chapter 3, verse 11. Persecutions, afflictions, which came unto me at Antioch and Iconium and Lystra. What persecutions I endured. But out of them all, the Most High delivered me, right? So Paul is listing these places that he went to, preaching the gospel to all people, stiff-necked, right? And he had to endure persecutions, afflictions, meaning people was laying hands on him, right? He said, hey, man, I endured all these things, and the Most High delivered me, right? Because he endured. If he would have gave up and said, ah, you know what, I ain't going to Lystra, I ain't doing this, I ain't doing that. Hey, the Most High may not delivered him out of that affliction, right? But he kept enduring because why? He was holding on to the scriptures, holding on to the precepts, right? And that's the same thing you got to do. You got to hold on to these precepts, right? You got to be able to get into a situation where, hey, you lose your, say you know what I'm saying, you get into a car accident, hey, the Most High can give you another car. And even if he don't give you another car, it's okay. Maybe he took it away for a reason. But regardless, right, you got to endure, right? It may be a season, it may be a time or something that you're going through for that moment, right? But the gospel still got to go get out. Doesn't mean you just, you know what I'm saying, take your fringes off, you don't keep no more Sabbath days because something happened to you, right? You got to be able to prepare for these things, right? So check this out. Let's go to the actual accounts, right? Because Paul is telling Timothy this for a reason. He's showing Timothy, hey, look, I went through it. You may go through it. Where you at? All right. I'm establishing you in this church and this place specifically now to help build up the Most High's people. Hey, you may go through some stuff while you're there. But hey, remember that I went through, right? That's why it's good to have the brethren. It's good to have the sisterhood, right? Where you can call on different sisters and say, hey, I'm going through this. You know what I'm saying? And then somebody can maybe be able to relate that to you, right? And then give you some counseling, give you some guidance. Say, hey, you know what, brother, I'm gonna pray with you. Hey, you know what, brother, I'm gonna fast with you, right? I'm gonna read with you, right? So to help build you up, right? So that you can endure through that trial, through that tribulation. You don't got to go through it by yourself, right? So let's actually get the account. Go to the book of Acts, right? Let's go to Acts chapter 14. All right, let's start in verse 1. Check this out. And it came to pass in Iconium, right? Here's the account that Paul was referencing when he was talking to Timothy, that they went both together into the synagogue of the Jews, right? Southern kingdom, Judah, Levi, Benjamin, right? And so spake that a great multitude, both of the Jews and also of the Greeks, believed, right? The Greeks, the Hellenized Jews, right? During the Greek captivity under Alexander the Free, right? Who Northern Kingdom, Southern Kingdom, right? These Hellenized Jews weren't keeping the law, statutes, commandments of the Most High God, right? So we had to come out there and bring them back into the fold, right? He said, but the unbelieving Jews stirred up the Gentiles and made their minds evil affected against the brethren. Hey, These Jews had an evil mind towards their brother. What's that sound? Right? They're not helping their brothers, right? They're going basically right against the commandments, right? Because Leviticus 19 and 17, right? Pull this real quick, right? Leviticus 19 and 17. It says, thou shalt not hate thy brother in thine heart. Thou shalt in any wise rebuke thy neighbor and not suffer sin upon him, right? Thou shalt not avenge nor bear any grudge against the children of thy people, but thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. I am Yahweh. Hey, they supposed to be loving their neighbors. And your neighbors, your brethren, your kinsmen, right, are the children of Israel, the 12 tribes, right? So-called black, so-called Native Seminole Indians, and you so-called Hispanics. We got to love each other, right? That's not having an evil eye towards their brothers. But when Paul was going through this situation, that hatred in their heart, right? Literally, they started to afflict him. Let's finish this out, right? Because this is some of the things that Paul had to endure, right? Check this out. Verse number 3. This is the book of Acts, chapter 14 and verse 3. Long time, therefore, abode they speaking boldly in the Lord, which gave testimony unto the word of his grace, and granted signs and wonders to be done by their hands. But the multitude of the city was divided, and part held with the Jews and part with the apostles. So there was a division, right? Verse 5. And when there was an assault made both of the Gentiles and also of the Jews with their rulers. Hey, they literally and physically snatched up Paul and was, hey, kind of two-piece buttermilk, biscuit on him. You know what I mean? Uppercut here, you know what I'm saying? A sandal to the thigh there, right? They literally put hands on Paul, okay? So this brother literally had to endure this for the gospel's sake. Preaching Yahushua, the good news of the gospel, right? Literally. So, hey, when you're going through it, remember some of these accounts. Remember, hey, man, ain't nobody actually really been putting hands on, right? And if they are, hey, you might want to seek counseling, right? But at the same time, none of us are really going through some of the stuff that Paul went through, right? And it's good to remember these accounts to help us endure when we're going through trials, when we're going through tribulations, right? Let me finish this out, right? And also of the Jews with their rulers to use them despitefully and to stone them. Paul got stoned. Okay, we're going to talk about that in a minute. They were aware of it and fled unto Lystra and Derbe, cities of Lycaonia, and unto the region that lieth round about. And there they preached the gospel. Hey, they got stoned. Let's jump down to verse 19, right? It's the book of Acts, chapter 14 and verse 19. And there came thither certain Jews from Antioch and Iconium, who persuaded the people, and having stoned Paul. They stoned Paul. Now, I don't know if you've ever seen a stoning before, right? But you got YouTube University, right? Everybody's got Google. Go look it up. Check out what a stoning looks like, okay? When we're going through our little trials and tribulations, right? We don't got enough money for gas. Our Esau getting on us on the job, right? Hate your boss, kids, then this. Hey, think about how Paul got stoned. Literally, right? So check people, man, they literally put you out, right? In the middle of the town. Everybody's picking up boulders and they gonna keep tossing them at you until you die. Literally, right? So we didn't get assaulted. Most of us. It might be a small percentage. Might be going through something like that. Like I said, reach out to a brother, try to get sister, try to get some counseling, right? But ain't nobody out here getting stoned, right? Physically, okay? But Paul went through it, literally. And these times are coming back on the earth, right? It's about to be lawless. Jacob's trouble's coming, right? These accounts are going to help you endure, right, in these last days. Because Paul literally got stoned. They were hitting him with boulders in his head, in his body, breaking bones, right? Organs, right? He's bleeding, right? We got gashes in his head. Who knows? And so it doesn't go into exact detail, but hey, man, look it up. You can see that it's gruesome, right? And having stoned Paul, right? Book of Acts, chapter 14, verse 19, drew him out of the city, supposing he had been dead. They stoned this brother so bad they thought he was dead. Look what Paul does, right? Remember how he said, right? He delivered me out of them all, right? In 2 Timothy chapter 3 and verse 11, the Lord delivered him. Here's the deliverance. Howbeit, as the disciples stood round about him, he rose up. The disciples round about, he got up and came into the city. And the next day, he departed with Barnabas to Derbe. Hey, Paul got up and said, I'm right back to the work. Right back to it. That's the mindset we got to be in, right? It's the mindset you brothers who be out there in the highways and byways, or even the ones who aren't out on the highways and byways yet, hey, you're getting built up trying to get out there. Hey, and even if you're not, if you're still going through it, but you're keeping the law, statutes, and commandments, listen, these things, you got to say, hey, I got to keep going. I got to keep enduring. I got to keep letting my light shine, right? In this gross darkness of a world that we live in, especially if you're in Babylon, right? Check this out. Let's go to, we get the book of, man, I'm going to go to Hebrews 6, right? Because this is really what it is. This is why we're enduring, right? It's the book of Hebrews chapter 6 and verse number 10, right? For God is not unrighteous to forget your work and labor of love, which ye have showed toward his name, in that ye have ministered to the saints and do minister, right? So the Most High is not unrighteous to forget the work and the labor. You keeping the laws, you keeping the statutes and commandments, you being joyous, right? And happy and glad and joyful in keeping the laws of the Most High God. He's not going to forget that, right? Because he's going to give you that crown, Most High willing, right? You endure to the end and you get that crown, right? You endure to the end and you get immortality. You endure to the end, you get to see Esau, right? Get destroyed, right? You endure to the end, you get to be maybe one of those individuals who could take, the nations, pursuant to Isaiah 14, into our land and build up the kingdom, right? You want to be able to endure to the end, to that point. That's why you're in the truth, right? Because you want to endure, right? There's rewards that the Most High, Yahweh Shai is coming with, right? So, hey, you want to be ready. You want to be ready, but you got to endure. Because just because you came into the truth don't mean he's coming tomorrow, right? He may not come for, nobody knows. That's literally why Yahweh Shai said, hey, I'm coming like a thief in the night, roughly paraphrase. Why? Because you don't know when a thief coming. Otherwise, you would have been ready. You would have had a shotgun by the door, had a bat, had a stick, right? Would have had a whole, saying, hey, call the home. They're saying, call the other brothers, right? And be like, hey, come through, man. Somebody's coming tonight trying to steal my stuff. We ready for him, right? But hey, the Most I said, hey, Yahweh said he's coming like a thief. Roughly paraphrasing. So that you don't know when he's coming. And the reason being is so that you could constantly be ready, right? You got to be ready, okay? Don't lose sight of that. You got to be ready, right? Let me get, right, 1 Thessalonians chapter 1 and verse 3. Right? 1 Thessalonians chapter 1 and verse 3. Remembering without ceasing your work of faith and labor of love and patience of hope and Hamashiach Yahushua in the sight of Yahweh. Right? Remember that. Remember your hope. Remember your faith that you have, right? Constantly endure. Remember the scriptures. Okay. Remember the accounts of our forefathers. That's going to help you get through each situation that you go through, right? I got a couple more. Let me get Ecclesiastes chapter 9, right? Real quick. It's the book of Ecclesiastes, right? Chapter 9. And I want verse number 11. It says, I returned and saw under the sun that the race is not to the swift, right? So this is a race, right? It ain't a 100, it ain't a 200. For my people who ran track, right? It ain't a 400, it ain't even an 800, right? It's a marathon. And you don't even know where the finish line is. Okay. So he said the race ain't to the swift. You don't got to be the fastest man and know every precept and had the most mightiest prayers and could blow the horn the best. No. Are you keeping the laws? Are you loving your brothers? Are you loving your family? Are you loving your wife? Right? Are you loving your husband? Are you teaching your children? Are you teaching your nation? Right? Are you enduring? Are you picking up the phone when your brother called because he need help? Are you reaching out to brothers when you go off and getting corrected? Right? Are you being prideful? Don't be prideful, man. Don't be prideful in this thing, right? Let me get this real quick. In the book of Proverbs, right? Chapter 6. Right? I'm going to get verse number 16, right? Proverbs 6 and 16. These 6 things that the Most High hate, yea, 7 are an abomination unto him, a proud look. Very first thing, though, The Most High hates pride, right? Don't be too prideful in your heart to call another brother, confess your faults, and ask him to pray. Ask your sister to pray for you, right? Don't be that brother. Don't be that sister, right? Because that can help you, that can make you decrease and not increase in the Most High. And now enduring has gotten a little bit harder, right? Because you're holding on to these different things, right? So be ready and willing, right, to confess your faults, right? Find that one brother, that one sister, that's got a little bit more wisdom than you, right? And you can sit down, confide in them, right, in righteousness and in holiness to get built up, right? And that'll help you endure, right? Because then, A, they can give you some precepts. They might pray with you. They'll read with you, right? These are the things that's going to help you endure on this truth. And the Most High set it up in these last days that the prophets are back, right? The servants of the Most High are back, right? The congregation is getting built back up, and it's readily available and accessible, right? When not like 400 years ago, we was in slavery, right? And we couldn't be on the highways and byways. We couldn't keep our beards, right? Women couldn't have their head wrap, right? Had their dresses on, their fringes on, right? They couldn't call in the brotherhood. They couldn't call in their sisters, right? Because we was too busy worried about getting beat by Esau, right? Out working in the cotton fields, in the tobacco fields, right? But now is the time, right? Pursuing Ecclesiastes 3:1, where there's a time and a place for everything, right? And now is the time to build up the nation. Now is the time to purge out that sin. Now is the time to endure, right, until the end, right? So let me get back here, right? Ecclesiastes chapter 9 and verse 11. I returned and saw that under the sun, that the race is not to the swift. So it's not to the swiftest person, okay? You don't got to be the fastest. You don't got to be the strongest, right? You just got to endure, right? And that's the key, endurance. Nor the battle to the strong, neither yet bread to the wise, nor yet riches to men to understand, right? It's not about because, hey, yo, you got everything in the world. You got a lot of money. Your bank account is good. Hey, so you got a lot of understanding in the world. Don't mean nothing to the Most High. You got to have understanding of these law, statutes, and commandments. Do that which is pleasing to the Most High, right? Nor yet favor the men of skill, but time and chance happeneth, ETH, continue, right? To them all, to every Israelite. You got a time and opportunity now, right? To buckle down, right? Examine yourself and say, hey, how can I endure? What do I got to do to endure, right? Let me get this in the book of Mark. Actually, let me get real quick. Let me get this in Psalms, right? Psalms 147. Right. Book of Psalms, right? Chapter 147. Salaki. 147. I'm gonna get verse number 10, right? Verse number 10. Psalms 147 and 10. He delighteth not in the strength of the horse. He taketh not pleasure in the legs of men. The Most High ain't pleased with that. You don't care about the horse, the pleasures of men. So like, yeah, the pleasure in the legs of men, right? Just because you can run a long time, you got some strength. That don't mean nothing to the Most High, right? You don't got to be the best, good looking, prettiest, most handsome, strongest, best reader, loudest talker. He don't care about none of that. Check this out, verse 11. The Lord taketh pleasure. He's going to tell you what he like. In them that fear him, in those that hope in his mercy. That's the key, right? Because the Most High wants you to have the fear of the Lord before your face, that you don't sin. You're hoping in the mercy and salvation of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua. That's what you do. That's what the Most High finds pleasure in, okay? So you want to be meek, you want to endure, you want to be humble, right? And you want to have that fear of the Most High and the mercy of the Lord, right? You want to pray for it. And right, the God, we're not dealing with the Christian church, right? So you can't just pray and think the Most High is a genie, he's gonna give it to you like that. That's not how it works. Sometimes you got to pray for this thing for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, a month, 2 months, 5 months, until the Most High gives you more mercy, until the Most High gives you more meekness, right? Gives you more love, gives you more patience, gives you more faith, right? Long suffering. These are the things, the fruits of the spirit, right, that you want to constantly be praying for, right, to bring forth more endurance and then to bring forth, most high willing, good fruit, right? That's what you want in this thing, right? So let me get the book of Mark, right, chapter 13, right? It's the book of Mark, chapter 13, and verse number 3. No, Salakia, verse number 13. Mark 13 and 13, right? And it says, I'm gonna start at verse 12, just a little bit of context, right? Now the brother shall betray the brother to death, and the father the son, and children shall rise up against their parents and shall cause them to be put to death. Hey, in the last days, your brother may go off. Physical brother, not even the one in the truth, but your physical brother, who you have the same mom and dad, right, may betray you, right? In the last days, during Jacob's trouble, even now, he may disown you, right? Father may betray the son, right? Daughter may betray the mother. Children rising up against their parents, right? Disobedient, not listening, right? Because, hey, honoring thy father and thy mother, that's one of the first 10 commandments that the Most High gave, out of respect, right? Check this out, verse 13. And ye shall be hated of all men for my name's sake, but he that shall endure until the end, the same shall be saved. So you got to endure to the end. You have to, literally, you have to, right? You got to endure until the end, right? So last thing, right? It's the last precept on both for the brothers, right? And the sisters. I'm gonna leave y'all with this one, right? It's the book of 2 Timothy, right? It's the book of 2 Timothy, chapter 2, and verse number 3. Thou therefore endure hardness as a good soldier of Hamashiach Yahushua, right? Endure good hardness as a soldier of Hamashiach Yahushua, right? In this truth. Okay, so remember to endure, right? We say, call on Yahweh Bashim Yahushua. It's all praise to the Most High, right? And all praise to his son. Okay, I love y'all. Continue to endure, right? Reach out to brothers and sisters if you need help, right? But remember, endurance is key and it's part of the milk. Got to endure, okay? Kwame Yashab.